Hello, everybody. This is episode 20 of Third Eyesight. I cannot believe it. I've been doing this for around 20 weeks now, almost half a year. Incredible. I remember when I started this podcast in October, I was so excited, didn't know what to think of it. I'm still excited, and I still don't know where this is going to lead me or lead us together, but it's exciting. I'm enjoying it. The people I'm interviewing are just so fun, so insightful. I am just besides myself at how lucky and privileged and blessed I feel to have this podcast that is connecting me with folks across the country, across the world, even. And I want to start this episode by sharing a review on Apple Podcasts by Squaw15, made on Valentine's Day, actually, of 2022, so about 2 months ago. And I just noticed it. So, Squaw15, if you're hearing me, thank you for your review. They said, Juan is a great host that talks a lot about spirituality. I have learned a lot from him, and I hope he continues to follow his spiritual calling. Thank you so much for your review. It is so kind of you. And folks, I share that review because number one, I'm grateful for it. And number two, I encourage everyone to submit a review if you enjoy this podcast. Hey, even if you don't enjoy it and you want to give a review with some constructive feedback, some criticism, be my guest. That's totally fine. So on Apple Podcasts, you just scroll down all the way when you're on the podcast page, down to the review section. You could hit between 1 to 5 stars, and it would be lovely if you could write a review. On Spotify, you just go to the page of the podcast, and there is a star rating option that you can do at the top of the podcast page on Spotify. The reason I'm asking you to leave a review if you feel called to do it is that leaving a review, a star rating and or a written review really helps this podcast to go further in the algorithm of these podcast platforms so more people can find it, more people can listen to it. And of course, I would love this podcast to reach as far and wide as possible. This podcast is already reaching people across the globe, across my own country, and I would love to reach even more people, and writing a review or leaving a review really helps for that reach to happen. So thank you for leaving a review, and like I said, good review, bad review, leave anything you'd like. It helps. It really does help. So in this episode, I'm going to tell you a story that occurred right after my grandfather passed. So my grandfather passed in July 2018, and I was very bummed because number one, he passed, but number two, I couldn't attend his funeral. I had already been living in New York City at that time. My family was all down in South Florida, and my grandfather was living in South Florida as well. And I believe he passed at the age of, the age of 96. He was born 1922. So he passes, and his funeral was scheduled within 5 days from his passing, or 5 or 6 days. And I got a plane ticket to go down to Florida. And I'm in the airport at LaGuardia Airport here in New York City, and it is pouring rain. And my plane was delayed, then canceled. I was switched to another flight. That was delayed. It was canceled. I was so upset. I remember calling the airline saying, listen, my grandfather's funeral is tomorrow. I need to get down to Florida. And I was trying to be as nice as possible because, listen, it's nobody's fault that it was raining. But I was also upset because there was another airline that was flying its passengers. And I was like, well, why can't I fly my airline? Why aren't they flying if that other airline is flying? But in retrospect, they were just trying to do whatever was best to keep us safe in the midst of a storm. I totally respect that. But at the time, I was very upset. And so I couldn't make the funeral. And I was able to watch it through videos that my dad was sending to me that he was recording at the funeral. So that is a Wednesday. That was a Wednesday when the funeral occurred, I believe, or a Thursday. Now it's Saturday morning, and I'm in the last place I lived in here in New York City. I was in a very old building, and I had always felt some energy in that building, but that Saturday morning, I was throwing trash away in the basement of the building. And as I'm putting the trash in the bin and bending over to put it in the bin, in the corner of my eye, I see the figure of a man, and he's all grayed out. He's like this blurry image of a man that's all gray colors, gray shades. And I see it quickly in my peripheral vision. And when I look up to take a look at what I think is to my right, when I look up, it disappears. It's just, there's nothing there. I don't even know if it disappeared. There was nothing there. I thought, that's odd. I swore I saw a man. It would look like a young man. And at the moment, it didn't really sink in. It might be my grandfather, but I thought, like, it took me a second or two to really think and consider, like, well, maybe it was my grandfather, showing himself in his young age. And maybe he's going through a life review. That's why he's in all these gray colors. So that's Saturday morning. That night, I was up at midnight / 12:30 a.m. And how did it go? I'm trying to remember the sequence of events or the sequence of the moments that night. I believe, from what I can remember, I heard my doorbell ring. And when I looked through the, what is it called? The viewer, like you look in the peephole to see if there was anybody there, to see who was there, because somebody obviously rang my doorbell. I looked in the peephole, there was nobody there. I thought, that's weird. And I opened my door, I stick my head out into the hallway, and I look left, I look right. Now, I should mention, I was the first apartment right after a landing of stairs. So I was on the second floor. Directly below me was the front door. So there's the front door of the whole building, and then it leads upstairs, up a flight of stairs to the second floor, and right there is my apartment door. So if someone rang the doorbell and then walked or ran away, I would have heard it very easily because things echoed a lot in that hallway, and I would have heard someone exiting the building or at least walking downstairs. Unless they were wearing slippers or maybe they were wearing socks. Let's say someone was wearing socks and rang my doorbell. Well, I believed either someone was playing a trick on me or it was a ghost. So I'm a little freaked out because also I lived in a decent area, but people like to play pranks and steal things a lot in the area that I used to live in. And I thought, okay, my grandfather just passed and I called him Noni. Now there's a joke. Nono, I believe, is the word for grandfather in Italian, but because I didn't want to say no, because I thought someone was telling me no, I called him Noni instead. So I figured this might be Noni, who is maybe saying hi to me, but I wasn't sure. And I thought, okay, maybe it's someone trying to play a prank on me, and that is really unsettling to me, so I'm a little freaked out. So freaked out Juan decides, I'm going to take a shower. It's late. I should take a shower. I'm about to go to bed and it's 1 a.m. So I'm in my shower and my bathroom is directly across from my front door, from my own front door of my apartment. So the bathroom door is open and I'm in the shower. I can see, because I had a clear shower curtain, I could see my front door from my shower, okay? I'm in the shower and I'm praying to Spirit. I'm praying to my grandfather. I'm saying, Noni, if it's you, please do that again. So I know that it's not someone trying to play a prank on me or trying to mess with me and stress out my night. Because I'd rather it be you than be some human being trying to mess with me. So I turn off the shower and my doorbell rings again. I dry myself so quickly and I step out of the shower. I was still a little wet. I didn't dry myself completely. I did it, so I just pat, and I step out of the shower, looked in the peephole, no one there, opened the door, no one's there. Nobody there. And I believe that night, my grandfather was saying hi to me. And my grandfather was a goofball, so he would do something like that on the other side, 100%. That night meant so much to me. And listen, I'm a skeptic at heart. I'm a human. As humans, we are all skeptic to a certain degree. We want to see something to believe it, feel something to believe it, know something, prove it to believe it. I just find it very odd that my doorbell rang once. No one was there. I asked my grandfather to do it again if it's him, and it happened again, and no one was there. Hello? And I should note, it is not a digital doorbell. It's one of those old-fashioned doorbells that it takes mechanics to ring the doorbell. So you pull a little stick, a little lever, and it's like the old like how the old school bells would be. There would be a lever that would go ding 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 that would be hitting the bell, physically hitting the bell. It's like that, but like those little doorbell boxes attached to the door. Someone hits a little lever, little stick, and it rings the doorbell. It was one of those. So someone would have to like push down the lever or the stick to make the doorbell ring. It wasn't a button, which I mean it would still be fascinating for this doorbell to ring on its own with a button. But just to give you a clear picture of how it was built, it was a physical mechanical doorbell that my grandfather in spirit would have to literally manipulate, which is just fascinating to me. And what's interesting is that ever since that experience with my grandfather that night, my intuitive ability and my relationship with spirit just grew stronger because I before that had never experienced something like that in my physical environment. I had seen things in my peripheral vision before, wonderful things, but something like that where something in my environment was physically manipulated, that's never happened to me before. And since then, I really believe that was the spark that led me or inspired me to go on the journey that I am still on right now. I mean, I've always been on this journey. There's never been a beginning or an end, but in human perspective, let's just say that my journey, I feel the journey I'm on right now that is doing this with you, this podcast, being a spiritual intuitive in development and working with tarot card readings. I believe that experience really was the catalyst for what I'm doing today. And I'm so thankful for it. And Noni, I'm thankful to you for it. I dedicate this episode to my Noni, to my grandfather. I hope you enjoyed hearing that little story, and I hope that it inspires you to talk with your loved ones. And listen, I have asked after that. I have asked my grandfather to manipulate things in my environment, to show me things, to show me himself. It doesn't happen, from what I can tell. Little symbols do come up. I've told him that our symbol is a fedora hat because he used to love fedora hats, and fedoras have come up here and there in conversation, as a visual. And I say, "Oh, hey Noni," when I see a fedora hat or hear the word fedora, I think of him and I say, "Hi Noni." But yeah, I've asked my grandfather, can you show yourself to me? Can you appear to me, or can you manipulate something? And it hasn't happened. But doesn't mean I believe in the ability, in the opportunity to talk with my loved ones any less. So I do encourage you, and I hope this episode encourages you, inspires you to speak with your loved ones, and they will give us signs and symbols and experiences in the way we need to experience them, not necessarily in the way we want to experience them or we expect to experience them. That's why we have to be so open, receptive, and aware to these signs and symbols and opportunities to experience our loved ones, because they may happen in ways we don't expect them to. And that's kind of wonderful because then they're little surprises. They're not expected. And they're like, oh, I didn't expect it to show up that way, or him or her or they to show up that way. That's amazing. That's so cool. Thank you for listening today, and I can't wait to keep recording episodes and interviews with folks. I have some exciting interviewees coming up in the next few months. I know you're going to enjoy them a lot. So stick around and feel free to follow me on social media. And I should note, I have again changed my username, and this time my new social media username is here to stay because it fits me and fits this work the best. So on Instagram and on Twitter, you can find me at Juan Third Eye. At Juan Third Eye. And on Facebook, I'm listed as Juan Francisco. Instagram, I would say, is my main hub for posting content. And I also want to note that I just revamped my website and I am offering a new type of reading. So you can find my website at thirdeyesight.media. And I added a new type of reading called the instant reading. I'm as if I invented this name out of nowhere. I'm brilliant. It's an instant reading. So what you do is you book an instant reading, you submit your name, your email, and your question, one question, and I send you a video either to your email, if you prefer, to your social media handle, like in a DM. I send you an email with a video that includes the reading, because I know that there are many folks that don't have the time to sit down and sit with a tarot card reader and put that time aside in their busy schedule to do a reading, but maybe they would prefer to just have a video sent to them of the reading for them to watch on their own time on the subway, when they're on a break at work. It will probably be like a 10-15 minute video. So you can expect that when you book an instant reading in video format from me. So you can go to thirdeyesight.media/readings to find all the options for readings you can do with me, that you can book with me. And otherwise, see you next time on Third Eyesight. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. If you have a question or topic you want me to cover on Third Eyesight, head to my website, juanfranciscospirit.com/contact, and send a message my way. If you really enjoyed this episode, leave a review wherever you listen. I'd really appreciate it.